What are those? Those are clothes. Warning, we say testicle.
I might have to just talk about it. You don't own me. You own Wordle, but you don't own me. Well, welcome to Figuring It Out. We are back, and I've got Linda here with me. Caleb's at Megadesk. We are ready to go. We have no guest today.
Yeah, free Caleb.
Hey, but listen, if you're a listener here and you want to be on the podcast, we would love to have you, whoever you are out there.
We love having guests.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
If you're too far away to be in the recording studio with us, then we'll Zoom you in or something like that. Just let us know.
That's why we have Caleb.
Yeah. That is
Give me something to do.
Caleb will figure the tech part out. We just say yes to everything. So let's hit some hot topics, some slices. There's a lot going on in the world. We're about to talk about some. I don't know that it's that heavy of stuff. Not like we have. It's just
stuff that made us laugh.
Stuff that made us laugh. Stuff that just is thought provoking to us. So, Linda, do you have a slice that you're bringing?
No.
Because mine, because I've got a couple of quick hitting things.
Yeah, I knew you were bringing a good bit.
Quickly, so we've got. I read this article, Linda. You've not seen this article. I read everything on the internet, by the way. So, like, if it comes through and it looks like if it's not something that's, I won't read article after article after article on the same thing. I will read like one article on something. And then move along. And then this one caught my eye, and I was like, and it got brought up in our small group yesterday at church. And I don't even remember how it got brought up.
I don't either.
I'm sure I brought it up. But in New Zealand, all right, so they thought they had the world's largest potato in New Zealand.
By the way, I just got your text.
There you go. I did not just send it, by the way, everybody. The world's largest potato was grown in New Zealand, and they named it first. That's like if you grow a giant vegetable, I guess you have to name it. Mm-hmm. So this New Zealand couple grows this giant whatever. They didn't even know they were growing it, apparently.
They just came up.
So the article reads like they were digging their garden, and I'm going to read the phrase, okay?
Please. This
is how they found it. And they named it Doug. So
of
it's,
course.
Once they found this potato, they named it Doug. Here's the sentence. I had a big hoe in my hand and it went clonk.
Are you sure this was not from Alabama?
And I said to my wife, what is that? And so they dig out this potato and they apply to the Guinness Book of World Records. Mm-hmm. Guinness comes out, and they weigh the thing, measure the thing, and yes, by like 17.5 pounds, it was larger than the world's largest potato.
Wow.
Okay, so the world's largest potato was something like 11 pounds, and this weighed in at like 28.4 pounds or something like that. So
that's a lot of French fries, man.
It's a lot of French fries, man. Five Guys would have a ball with this guy.
Buy that and never have to buy fries again. Sorry, Idaho. Our potatoes are from Doug today.
Doug. It's on the side.
Yeah, Doug. It's just Doug.
And so they do DNA testing on this potato and all this kind of stuff that they have to officially do, I guess. And they come back and, disappointingly, it's not a potato.
Aww.
What? So the article, that's why I read the article. It was like New Zealand couple finds the world's largest potato, if only it were a potato. And I'm like, okay, I've got to read why this is even a thing. And yeah, it looks like a potato, feels like a potato. All the things are potato-like, but it's some kind of gourd.
Wah, wah.
Like it's more like a pumpkin than it is a potato, but it looks like a potato. It's just a really nasty pumpkin.
I mean, I got a picture. It looks like a potato right here.
There's Doug.
So you put that where everybody can see it.
Yeah, they can see it right now.
All right, yeah, it's a funky looking potato, but it definitely doesn't look like a gourd.
A gourd.
Yeah. All right. Well,
let me ask this question.
Okay.
It's like a
do potatoes biologically change when they get to a certain size and transform, kind of like caterpillar to butterfly situation?
A gourd.
And a potato becomes a gourd.
So a potato gets in the cocoon, goes through its metamorphosis, and becomes a pumpkin.
Liquefies itself.
Maybe the potato.
There's a Disney movie about that.
Maybe the potato is the cocoon. and there's something we don't even know about that gets up in the potato and metamorphosizes.
Yeah.
Can
Could be.
aliens accept Christ as their savior?
No.
Is this that kind of same conversation?
I'm just.
I need some tinfoil.
Listen,
Yeah.
listen. I don't know, but this is a funky looking thing.
I mean, I guess anything. Like, has our knowledge of potatoes been so just restricted?
You
and
think
kept,
you know something.
You think you know
just
something?
kept in a box and
If there's anything I thought we knew everything about, it's potatoes.
It was a potato.
potatoes, but
Like, hey, at Passion Conference, Levi Lusko went on and on. And it was the world's longest illustration. No lie. 3/4 of his sermon at Passion Conference was about the great potato famine in Ireland back in the 60s or whenever it was. So it honestly, it put us all to sleep. All right. Sorry, Levi, man. All right. That was, he took a long time to tell that story. And like, it was like the whole historical account of the potato famine of the Irish.
Sounds like a thrilling sermon.
yeah.
It was super.
And then with a little bit of application.
It was not even that. Ask your mom. Your mom
was
was
not
there.
even
Your mom
that.
was there.
I'll ask her.
It was. I don't want to bash anybody on podcast. I really don't. It was just like the points
You
that
might hear
came.
it.
The points that came out of the message could have been points that didn't have like. He didn't even have to use the Bible to get to the points he made. All right, it didn't come. From
he
his,
didn't.
It didn't
It
come
sounds
from
like.
his scripture, and it honestly didn't come from the story either.
He just woke up and said, I had this thing prepared. Nah, we're going to talk about this
Yeah.
potato
Right, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But you know what I actually
When
want
the
to talk
spirit
about?
hits,
I mean, where the spirit leads, you got to go.
Yeah.
But it's hard to think that's where it was going.
And so, okay, so I don't know what happened to Doug. I don't know if they're like doing research on Doug. I didn't read that far. Once I found out what it was or what it wasn't, I was like, all right, I'm out.
All right, I'm looking it up. I'm
What
Googling
happened to Doug?
the not potato.
Doug the not potato.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It probably
He's still alive. He's
he
still
w-
chilling.
He probably went on to some kind of biology lab somewhere.
I'm sure.
Some farmer is trying to figure out how he can grow more of them, whatever they are.
That was great though. Like, I had a giant hoe in my hand and it went clunk.
I had a hoe, it went clunk, and I was like, what is that?
What is that?
That's really the story of every farmer, isn't it? Like,
You know what that makes me think of? Did you ever, I don't know if you ever saw it, Kanye West.
oh, here we go.
Ride
Okay,
with
look.
no,
yeah.
ride with me. Ride with me.
I'm here.
Kanye had a fashion show, and his daughter North was singing at the fashion show. And I just saw this little clip of it, but she was singing this song that all it was just like, "What are those? Those are clothes." and it cuts to Kim just like bawling these proud tears, and it's
Oh,
like that
my
just shows
goodness.
that moms love everything. But
Can North sing?
no,
Okay.
but we do that all the time at our house. They'll be like, "What is that?" We're like, "Those are clothes." But that was the
That's
whole
good.
song. But that made me think of
what
it.
are those?
What is that?
What you remember
It's
that
Doug.
trend? What are those? And you like point at people's shoes. Oh wow! So, and in other news, I like started watching The Chosen.
Yeah.
All right, and so far so good. I'm real skeptical on biblical accounts, right? Like Hollywood portrayal of biblical story.
Yeah.
There was the Bible that came out a while back. That was a whole.
Yeah, it was on like History Channel or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
I watched that.
It was like it wasn't a full like several seasons of like a series. It was a mini series.
It's like 4 videos or something.
It was like 4 to 6 episodes, like full length, like hour-long episodes, something like that. That was okay. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, same.
I didn't
Yeah,
love it.
I liked it.
And the Passion of the Christ is always like the standard of which Hollywood holds every Christian thing to, and which, in its own right, the Passion of the Christ is really, really, really well done, and I think it still holds up today. But a lot of, especially if it comes from like that came from Mel Gibson, okay? So already someone like he is like top tier Hollywood. All right.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing. He was William Wallace, okay? Hello. We already talked about with Rhett and Nate how that's my favorite movie. All right. Mel Gibson knows how to get it done in Hollywood. So that movie got it done. a lot of things that come out of like Christian camps, right? So Christian production studios, they fall a little flat either on the acting side or like it's an overly cliche thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
You're slamming Fireproof. Is that what you're doing?
I didn't call out Fireproof.
Oh, sorry.
Listen, I didn't do it.
Caleb did, though.
Listen,
Oh, oops.
now we know how Caleb feels.
I haven't
No,
seen
that's
him.
Kirk Cameron. You know, I had higher hopes for Kirk Cameron. You know, he was all of our childhood hero on Growing Pains. Growing Pains. And so, anyway,
I just think he doesn't have Mel Gibson money.
that's probably part of the case. But honestly, I didn't hate Fireproof. I never even
saw it.
You know, there's the other group. So there's the Kirk Cameron movies. I never saw his version of Left Behind, by the way. I never saw that. Was it Nate or Rhett that was talking about Left Behind, the Kirk Cameron version? Oh, man, I was listening. This is a whole tangent, but I was listening to the Relevant podcast back in the day. Okay. So Relevant went through some changes, but before they went through all their changes, I used to listen to their podcast almost every week. And they started talking about, you remember when I don't even know how they got into this little joke, but they started laughing about, and it was tickling me because when they were talking about like pornography or something, and like Covenant Eyes, some of that software that kind of blocks all of that stuff from your computer and whatever. They were talking about that kind of software, and they said, really what you need is, you remember how Microsoft used to have that little paper clip that would pop, Clippy the paper clip, and it would pop up, what you need, or whatever. And you'd have to kind of sort through things with Clippy. They said there needs to be a little Kirk Cameron that pops up and like kind of judges you firmly for whatever you're looking at on your computer.
That's so funny.
That would be great. That would really be good.
Like Judgy Kirk Cameron pops up.
I'm bringing Clippy back, man. He's now my profile picture on everything.
There's a lot of memes. There's a lot of memes around
I haven't
Clippy.
seen Clippy in years.
Microsoft has sort of got this resurgence of old things made new. Clippy is one of them.
I love that.
Also, all their old backgrounds. You remember like the wave, like the wheat field or whatever it was? That was everybody's background. There's that one.
XP, the big green, like rolling hill type thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
That's a place in California. You can go there. It's pretty cool.
You can go there.
It's just off the side of the road.
Take a picture, make your own screensaver.
There you go.
So anyway, all that to say is I was a little leery of going in on Chosen. Everybody kept telling me, go in on Chosen. It's really good. It's really good. And so we finally started watching it the other night, and we're about done with season 1 now. And I really, really like it. I really do. It's got some things that I'm like, okay. But then, like, for the most part, I like it. And I was just telling Kinsley last night, I was like, I really like their portrayal of Jesus on this thing. Like, have you started Chosen?
I have.
You have. All right. So are you done with season 1?
No.
You're in season 1.
Yeah.
So you're like me. You were slow to the go.
I was a little slow to get it started. And then I picked it up, and then I've dropped it a
Somebody
little bit.
told us to tune in on their YouTube special. I mean, the like Christmas special, and I think it was on YouTube actually.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Christmas special.
We did that, and then we were like, we probably should have been watching this the whole time.
Yeah.
But like, not that we don't know the Christmas story already, but it was like, you see faces, and you're like, who's that supposed to be? And that kind of thing.
And that's what, like, when you start at the beginning, it introduces you to the characters, and you kind of know who they
very
are.
slowly, by the way.
It's very slowly. But it's pretty funny because our small group leaders love The Chosen.
Yeah.
And so Tim will be like, well, just wait till you see what they did with Matthew. Or like, and be like, he's like, is he, what's he like? Or is he like this? It's like creating this suspense. And so it's like, now I have to go and see what they did with Matthew.
Caleb, have you started The Chosen?
No, I haven't seen it
Well,
yet.
wait till you
Okay.
see what they did with
Laura and
Matthew.
I we're working through Harry Potter right now, so we're on the other
Complete
spectrum.
opposite
yeah.
end of that
Yeah.
spectrum.
We're on the sinner side of
Don't
things.
make me go 90s on you.
Yeah.
You had to shut that down. Christianity had to shut that down.
I know, man. Lived it.
It's a pendulum, really. Like, just swing
Yep.
one side to the other.
Yep.
Well, Anyway, what I learned for small group, actually. So our small group starts talking about, we're reading through Isaiah, okay, as our small group on Sunday mornings. Reading through Isaiah, we're in chapter 4. Well, actually, this was from chapter 3. Yes, from chapter 3. There is talk about a vineyard, and it's a prophecy against Israel as it talks about Israel being the vineyard, right? The vineyard, and it's produced wild grapes. And so the Lord is about to take away its hedge of protection, and the grapes are going to get stomped out, burned up, and all that kind of stuff. So in that, we start talking about, okay, what do you call someone who is the keeper of a vineyard, right? Because the Lord is this. The Lord is the keeper of the vineyard. We're like, is this the farmer? And then somebody, I don't remember if it was Drew or who it was, piped up and was like, I think they would be offended if you called them a farmer. And I'm like, are vineyardists just fancy pants? What are they? And I think maybe they are. Maybe they are.
Think so. Eric was Googling it, and he showed me what it was, and I forget.
I know what it is because of The Chosen. All right.
Really?
So in The Chosen.
And you didn't say anything yesterday.
Oh, I didn't know it till last night.
Oh.
All right. So I didn't know it that morning, but I knew it last night. And I told Kinsley she needed to text y'all's group me. Like, y'all have the ladies of the small group. And
the ladies of the small group.
Yes. And so I was like, tell him right now. And she's like, no, nobody cares that much. And I'm like, you know something that nobody else knows.
You know men's of the small group exists too.
I'm not in it. I haven't been invited. Oh, that might have something to listen. You've heard it on the podcast. My heart just got broken.
Sorry. It's because you're a pastor.
Yeah. Pastors get left out of all kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, there's a stigma with pastors.
Caleb's telling me this.
I know someone who could probably help you.
Well,
I'll have some words.
We'll see. So
that's the kind of stuff that they talk about, I'm pretty sure, in their group. It's like, hey, by the way, the master of the vineyard is called the...
Let me tell you, if I know something and you don't know it, I'm going to tell you.
Shocking.
I want to help you out like that. I'm not... I know how that sounded. It's not what I meant.
As your administrator, I know this.
So it's called a vintner.
Vintner.
A vintner.
I've heard that word before.
With a W, though, right?
I don't think it's a W in there.
Okay.
At least not the subtitles on The Chosen didn't use a W. A vintner. Or that could possibly be just the person that sells wine.
Vintner. That's a space on the Monopoly board.
No, I don't think so. I think you're mistaken.
I might be.
I block everything out about Monopoly, and that's a story for another day.
Oh, I can't wait to get into that. We can't play Taboo at our house. All right. There was almost a broken engagement, a divorce, and just a breakup in the same room with our family playing Taboo. Are you looking something up,
I'm
Caleb?
trying to figure out how you spell this word, but
Vintner,
it's not anything important.
Vintner would be like Vitner, something like that.
Didn't pop up.
Vintner.
It doesn't have an N in it. V-I-N.
N-E-R.
V.
Did I not say
like
that?
Like Vino.
V-I-T-N-E-R. Yes.
It's not popping up here.
Am I wrong? All right, people on the podcast, sorry. Give us a second because...
Some wine expert out there, because I know there's so many listening right now, comment. It's okay.
Well, anyway.
We'll have to follow that one up later.
So, okay. It's V-I-N-T-N-E-R, Vintner. And it is a producer of wine, a wine grower, a wine merchant.
Aha. There you go.
So anyway, Thomas, the disciple, before he's a disciple, they've portrayed him as a wine merchant, okay? They're sort of developing the storyline of like Jesus' first miracle is at the wedding of Cana where he turns water into wine. So Thomas is with this other girl who they're the wine merchants and they're bringing the wine to the party. And Thomas is doubting that they have enough wine. All right. And he's like, I don't think this is enough. And the girl that he's with, she's like, of course it's enough. They told us they had this many people, whatever. And anyway, they're going back and forth and back and forth.
They're setting him up.
Yeah.
There are several moments of doubt before he even meets Jesus. Okay. And so,
and some after.
But he this is how I learned. He points to the girl that's with him and he's like, this is the best vintner in all of Capernaum or whatever, he says. And so I was like, cha-ching.
There it is.
That's it. Isaiah 3, people. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know if that adds to your understanding of the Bible, but if so, I'm glad I could help.
There you go.
There.
I like learning details about the Bible, which I had a good one, but I didn't have time to stay in small group long enough to get it out when we were going through Isaiah 3. Had a really good thing to say, but I'm gonna just save it till a sermon one day.
That sounds good.
So it was a very preachy detail. I'll just say that it was a very preachy detail of Isaiah 3. So So anyway, if
like
you
it.
ever wondered what a farmer of like a vineyard is, it's a vintner.
Yeah. And they probably would be upset if you called him a farmer.
I don't know, maybe.
That's bougie.
Bougie farmers.
Bougie
Oh, bougie farmer. So
They don't have a hoe and
lots of farm.
What was that?
Lots of farm related details today. Do you grow anything? Do y'all?
Yeah, I do a garden. It's
do
about
you?
garden time at my house.
It is that time.
Yeah, I like to do a little vegetable garden.
Okay. All right.
So it's fun.
Caleb?
I don't grow anything. I can't grow a thing, but Laura loves it. Laura is like, she can look at a plant and tell you everything you want to know about some random plant.
Bet she knew what a vineyard
She
farmer
literally
is.
is probably screaming, going like, "That's what it is." Come on, people.
So anyway, it just, I don't know if it helps with your study of the Bible or not, but hey, The Chosen taught me something. There's a lot in The Chosen that's a little bit artistic freedom, okay? Like what they did with Matthew.
Like what they did with Matthew.
So if you don't know, they've portrayed
Matthew is the tax collector.
Oh, okay. That's not a spoiler.
Well, that's not a spoiler.
That's from the
Knew that
Bible.
That's biblical. But because he's a tax collector, they've made him incredibly smart, like with like memorization, money, that kind of thing. But they've also made him like on the autism spectrum. So he's got these like tics and quirks and stuff that that they've kind of played up. And the Romans, it's going to be where like Jesus is he's been ostracized by his like Jewish family because A, he's a tax collector, and B, because he's odd.
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of these things where the Romans have really played up. They've played up like how the Romans treat him because of how odd he is. It's going to be one of these things where Jesus is about to like embrace him. You know, and it's going to be like the first person that's really embraced him. I can see it coming.
But that's okay.
That's great.
I mean, that's what Jesus does.
That's what Jesus does.
Yeah.
But that's what I was going to say. I love how they've portrayed Jesus in this, because they've portrayed Jesus as this very normal guy. Like, not an overtly spiritual guy at all. Like, he's walking through, he likes to laugh, he cuts up with people, and then, like, when it's time for a spiritual thing to happen, like, then all of a sudden it's, like, laser focus. Mm-hmm. But, it's like the turning water into wine. His first miracle, everybody's, like, kind of going crazy, and not like going crazy bad, but like, everybody's excited, happy about the wedding, and Jesus is dancing, and he's like making fun of his disciples because they can't dance and stuff like that. And, it's all this stuff. It's like all the fill in the blanks of like, what do you think was going on here? Because it's like, I get upset by people who, they read the Bible so literally, this is a bad way to describe it, but they read the Bible so literally that it's like in their mind, there's nothing happening in between the lines. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like the show portrays Jesus, like he's talking with Peter. Peter's talking about how Andrew has 4 left feet and all this kind of stuff. And they make this big joke about how he's got 4 left feet because he looks like a donkey walking on hot coals when he dances or something like that. That's the joke. And so Jesus is like kind of playing up this joke with Peter and Andrew. And it's like, I can imagine someone who doesn't read sort of into the narrative like there's a real life happening here, that they would be like, that's not biblical, or something where it's not unbiblical, it's just not biblical. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So
big
anyway,
difference.
Yeah, big difference.
Big difference there.
Big difference. And so anyway, I so far the little creative freedoms of The Chosen have been in very good taste, I've thought. In my opinion.
That is cool.
Peter's got a really good head of hair, by the way. He's got some shiny black, just perfectly laid over hair. I'm just like, Peter, didn't expect that.
Did not see that coming.
Didn't see it coming.
Well, because in Southern Baptist canon, Peter always has red hair.
Huh.
Is that
Tell
true?
me you haven't noticed that. Like in every children's book, Peter always has red hair and a red beard.
Yeah, listen, Kinsley did this. This was
look it up. Wee People's Bible.
The Wee People's Bible.
The Wee People's Bible, like everything.
Is that Irish? Is that the Irish version?
The Wee People.
Oh, wee lad.
I'm 99% certain on this.
So Kinsley last night was like, we had been introduced to so many characters, and like she was just trying to like keep faces with names and stuff. And so she just pulls up like the disciples like on Google Images or whatever, and it's all like this started a discussion at our house. It was all like Michelangelo's like The Last Supper like painting where they're all European and stuff like that. She's like, why do they all look like this? So then we started discussion about like, you know, the history of art and why Michelangelo painted them like that and things like that. And it was Michelangelo that did The Last Supper, wasn't it?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I think it's Da Vinci.
No. Was that Da Vinci? No. Who painted The Last Supper?
I'm about to tell you.
Michelangelo did the Sistine Chapel, though, didn't he?
Yes.
That's right. With the little
The
fingers.
the fingers, yeah, where they're like that. Well, except they're not really. They're more like
Leonardo da Vinci.
Da Vinci.
Well, look at that.
There you go.
All right, got them mixed up. My bad to all you art people. My bad. Okay, but they are all European either way.
I bet you Peter has red hair. I can buy it on eBay for $21.99.
The real
The
Last Supper.
one.
We've
No, it's
got
just-
a copy here somewhere,
That's just
like
an
laid
NFT.
up in a. Like,
That's just
in
the NFT of the actual.
I printed it
stuff.
out. I made them paint it with gravy.
That's right.
I have it engraved.
No, we
too.
have a full canvas print of it in a closet somewhere back here.
Respect.
You can have it. Take it home.
No, I've got the gravy
I think it's in the
version.
server room.
Yeah, I think
For
it
real.
is.
I think it's just right through that wall.
So anyway, The Chosen's good. I recommend it. We've got a couple of topics that we had tossed around, Caleb.
We may just have to go lightning rounds
Well, I don't know. We only,
or see what lands with Caleb.
Oh,
well, let's talk about this one because it is, I think the other one is a little more evergreen. This one is kind of a right now. Okay. There is a lot of revolt against the NCAA right now.
oh, here we go. Yep, bring it. Come on.
And women's sports in general, and it's all surrounding this person, Lia Thomas. Okay,
Yeah.
Lia Thomas.
He said it. He went there.
We're there.
It's happening.
Now, it's because they had a race where Lia Thomas just absolutely. Okay, so rewind.
Yeah. Okay. Lia Thomas is a swimmer.
Yes. Give us the facts.
So Lia Thomas is a transsexual female, so male to female, and
is physically male, identifies as female, right?
yes, born biologically male, transitioned to female.
Yep.
And I don't know all the details of her transition, but now swims and what school
Is
is
definitely
it, Caleb?
doing some sort of like
Pin.
hormone therapy.
Yeah,
things
hormone
like that.
therapy. Because
Yeah,
I think that's
she goes to
part of
Penn.
it. Your testosterone level has to be below a certain level
Yeah. Pin.
to
Yeah.
compete in women's sports, regardless of your biological assignment at birth.
Yeah.
But where does she swim for?
Pin.
Penn State.
UPenn,
No, UPenn.
Pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
University.
University of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
So had a race
Yes.
and just smoked the competition.
Like not even close.
I think
Not even close.
I think like she won by like 38 seconds
Yeah.
or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that.
It was the 500-meter freestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, it was an incredible. I was trying to see if I could find the like next person's time, but I can't find it.
Because prior to her transition from male to female, she swam on the men's team.
Yes,
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
yes. So
Oh, okay.
and
She
this,
was,
did not know
she's
that.
been a competitive swimmer all throughout.
Linda, therein lies what was always the big question mark surrounding sports and transgender.
Yes.
When this started becoming a fad, which really has just come on strong in the past 5 years, maybe less, where you have, seems like especially, there's for a long time, there have been females participating in men's sports. Okay.
Yeah,
But
there's a girl on my son's baseball team.
but not transgender.
Correct.
Like just I'm a
Right.
girl playing with the boys.
Yeah.
It seems like there's not nearly as many and I could be wrong, and if I am, shoot me an email, tell me the stats, but it seems like there's not as many, or at least they're not as popularized, women who are trying to what's the word for that? Transition over to male, that are also trying to then play male sports as male.
Yeah.
As there are females transitioning to male trying to play female sports.
Males transitioning.
Does that
to
make sense?
females.
Like, it doesn't seem.
Yeah.
I don't really know because I've heard both cases happening, but I'm wondering if what's publicized is the male going into the female sport, transitioning over, just because of kind of the social impact that it has.
Yeah.
It affects people much more significantly because of the physical stuff.
Well, that was always the question mark, because the NCAA and other sports organizations have always sort of, they've had standards, they've had rules and things like that that kept women out of men's sports, men out of women's sports, things like that. And so this turns out to be a very gray area. Like kind of what Caroline was talking about. There's like some gray area here that's like nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And so when you enter into that sphere, like they have to make some rulings, but everybody seems to have had the same idea of like, okay, if this male decides to participate in female sports, whether or not and just say they identify as a female, that's going to lead to this person absolutely just crushing the competition in female sports, for most female sports. And I've always been in that camp of like, of course, there's an obvious difference physically for men and women. That's why they play separate sports. Mm-hmm. Now you have your super feminists that say we can do anything a man can do. While that, Linda, you can argue this point if you want. Listen, on a level playing field in a physical activity, a male is probably going to. This caveat too. On a level playing field in a physical activity with more or less equal physical, like physique, okay, not like big obese man with asthma and super fit CrossFit female, okay. This is like similarly fit people going against each other on a playing field. The male is going to best the female. I would say 10 out of 10 times.
10 out of 10 means you've eliminated all the others. I give you 9 out of 10. Probably.
Okay, I'll back off to 9 out of 10. I'll back off to 9 out of 10.
I went to high school, and there's this girl who I think is still just around back in Tennessee. She was quarterback at the football team.
And notice I said most things, not everything.
Yeah, which is why I'm giving you the one. But I agree with you, yeah. This is a really interesting case to me because
there are some volleyball players that would crush me at volleyball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm terrible at most of these sports, especially these people. You're talking about the NCAA championship.
Yeah.
Right? So these are like...
It's like you have to compare apples to apples.
Girl, I think it might have even been the third place girl, though, was an Olympic swimmer.
There were 2 Olympic swimmers.
Medaled in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And got crushed by Lia Thomas.
Yeah.
Anyway, finish what you were saying.
No,
Caleb interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, but in that statement, though... It's like you're saying, okay, you have to compare apples to apples, and you can't compare male to female apples to apples. Like it's not. Stop it.
I didn't say a
nobody
word.
said a thing.
I know your face though, but like you can't.
I can't get through this.
You picked the topic.
You're doing good. You're doing good. Hold it together.
They're just different, but yeah, typically, a man would best a woman competitively just because we're built differently.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No. Now, my friend who works out at the same time I do at the gym, I've seen her deadlift 350 pounds plus.
Yeah.
I bet you can't do that.
I can, but that's a different story.
I cannot. I'll give you
Caleb
here.
cannot.
I cannot.
But yeah,
so.
like
350 is a lot. I'm not that big.
Yeah.
So.
And she's like my size.
Yeah.
The logical conundrum that exists for me here, let's just go with the rules that have been established in culture and society. So we're not talking about anything on the spiritual nature specifically. But if you go through and you look at, you want to support women, and that means that you want to support both the new woman who has transitioned from the political side or the societal side. And you want to support the women who are already competing and have been training up for this is their only shot at doing this. It's probably right then and there. So supporting both of them looks like they go in opposition to each other.
Yeah.
So you end up in this weird place where you're like, well, you want to support the women, but you also want to support the women, and that means that this isn't. So you end up in this weird libertarian free market thing, and you're like, we don't know what to do, but it just feels sticky.
And that's the larger argument is this is going to destroy women's sports.
We don't know what to do.
Because at the same time, there's I don't know the behind the scenes, what goes on as far as qualifying these transgender women for activity. Okay, I don't know what goes through, when they check the box, yes, you can compete. I don't know if there's psychiatric evaluations. I don't know if there's obviously not DNA testing, testing for testosterone, things like that, blood testing, hormone levels, along with the your typical performance enhancing drugs, things like that, that are just all across the board. But I don't know, I feel like, and I think a lot of people were sort of pointing fingers at this specific situation because this person competed as a male for a long time and then started competing as a female where they weren't doing very well as a male, okay, started just killing it as a female, obviously. It's one of those things where I'm like, at what point do you just identify as the other to get the advantage, to win your medals, win your trophies, that kind of thing? And nobody else can say boo because you've said it. There's got to be...
Yeah, because even just on the
some
rules
gatekeepers
thing, right? Because if there used to be this thing where you have to be tested and you have to meet certain criteria for your certain testosterone level, certain estrogen level, certain other performance enhancing drug stuff, you can't be out of spec in any of those in order to be able to compete. So now what happens when you have to eliminate some of those rules in order to provide access for people like Lia here to come in and compete on the women's side, but would never meet the rule for testosterone level, because you can inject that stuff just on the everyday thing in order to increase your muscle density and all kinds of random stuff.
Well, there was the doping scheme from the Russians just during the Olympics, which they're doing that all the time.
If you eliminate that kind of stuff now, you're going to take the women who have been training and open up, they now have to be this thing that's not really what they naturally can do in order to be able to compete with people who are built just differently than they are. So it's going to change the way the whole sport looks, and that's the opposite for... It works both ways, right? So things that women are more naturally gifted at, guys are going to have to be doing the same thing. So it's just going to eliminate the public appeal, I think, because normal weird people who don't inject that are just not going to be able to relate as much.
Can I tell you, this is sort of the slippery slope it might be going down?
Yeah.
Genetically altered athletes.
That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That's where I'm getting at.
Where like what you're saying, I would not be able to play sports like I played sports in my life because I would not be one of these nebulous, genderless athlete.
Yeah, it's have you seen the meme about the evolution of the football player where it's them and they're playing and then all of a sudden they have no neck and they're like this and they're playing it's been a meme from a while ago, right? This is where you go. Or I think Musk tweeted, Elon Musk came up again. I think he tweeted this a couple years ago.
I got more on Elon, but go ahead.
So it's like a crash test dummy. You end up with if people keep riding in cars, you go 100 years in the future. His thing was he thinks people are going to just not have a neck and their shoulders will just encompass into the back of their head so that when you get into a car wreck, there's no neck to whiplash. You just take the hit. That's for real. That's what he thinks. So
you're so silly.
You end up with that, but in the sporting world, if people keep doing this to a greater and greater extent, yeah.
Which, I mean, the picture of an athlete has changed over time anyway. Kind of what you're saying. Athlete, look at baseball players in the 60s versus baseball players today.
It's the asterisk, right?
It's there's the evolution of bigger and stronger and faster.
Yeah. And even PEDs aside, nutrition is better, training is better. All of this stuff is so much more specific. And so,
And so there are ways to put on that muscle mass and that without the performance enhancement, like just
Right.
because training and nutrition and stuff is just improving over time.
And it's just though, what's going to keep people from saying, okay, I'm having a hard time as a guy playing this sport. Oh, there's a women's version. I'm going to check off the list that I'm just like transitioning and go over there. And I mean, this starts to creep into like the scary, like, okay, well, because here's what I'm going to say. For every person that this is a genuine issue with, that they really are having some gender confusion, okay? Because that's a thing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
It's a thing.
Absolutely.
There's a spiritual aspect to it. We'll talk about that in just a second, I think. It's where we need to go with this. But for every person that's a real issue, I think that is a minority, like super minority of people that are like, at the same time having gender identity issues that are also like
Yeah, like a world-class athlete.
world-class
Yeah.
athletes. That's
There's only a
super small
handful.
population.
You're right. Yeah.
But
Because someone who's been very outspoken about this has been Caitlyn Jenner,
right.
which, as Bruce Jenner, was an Olympic athlete,
Right.
and has been very outspoken against
This.
trans women in women's
Yeah.
sports.
Because he knows.
Yeah.
And hang on to that one. Write
'Kay.
that down. But what I'm saying is, like, for every one of those minorities, there's going to be the majority of them are going to try to play the system. It's just my opinion of like, you've got runners that are starting to like track and field, things like that. Tons of people are trying to like mess with that system.
Yeah.
Those are the obvious sports where there's like very parallel, men and women are very parallel in how they play those games. Like, there's not really a women's version of like American football. There's not really, I don't know. I don't think there is. You've got, I think women play rugby, but I'm not sure. Anyway, but there's not like what's a women's sport that men don't have?
We got nothing you don't have.
No. There's got to be
is.
something.
Hold on. I'm trying to think of what that sport is because you have to in the NCAA and then
Field hockey?
No, because see, guys do that too.
Okay.
There is one though because there was an imbalance and you had to have the same number of women in men's sports at colleges, but I can't remember what the one was.
Is it softball?
Could have been
Well,
softball.
but that's baseball. There's a baseball equivalent there.
Well, but there's
But-
not women's baseball. There's women's
There
softball.
is though. There is. Hey, shout out Laura. Laura played baseball. So I mean, there you go.
But like, is there an NCAA?
I don't know about
League?
that.
Why did she not play with us on our softball league?
Because she plays baseball.
She plays baseball.
Okay.
I'm just
And
kidding.
she does not identify as a man.
Also, I think she had just had a baby.
Well, that's true. It
Yeah.
was-
Also,
it was,
yeah.
it
Duh.
was
She's
men
not allowed
only.
I was thinking we had a co-ed league, but
Yeah.
forget it. I'm so, golly.
Well, we know where you land on
Well,
this issue.
that was the dumbest quote. All right.
Next.
Anyway,
I even forgot what I was
I'm just
talking
gonna
about
be
from
quiet.
that. Something about, oh yeah, we're looking for the sport.
A
that,
women's sport.
whatever women's
whatever
sport,
it is, there is one. I mean, I got a computer in front of me. I could Google
Yeah.
it. Hold on.
because men play volleyball,
Mm-hmm.
men play soccer.
I just don't know in the NCAA what it qualifies as.
Interesting. Okay. I don't know. Sports where genders are equal is billiards, bowling.
Oh my goodness! Get
I mean,
that
let's
out
not
of
even go there. Like chess. They're saying
Chess.
chess is a sport.
here. Well, that's debatable. That's a different podcast.
Yeah, that's
Video games, esports. I mean,
Because here's the
we
deal.
go there.
All of this, yes, this is a problem for sports,
Yeah.
but it's a bigger problem for humanity. Okay, it's a bigger
Yeah.
problem for society. That's why I said hold on to this Caitlyn Jenner thing, because I believe, now I could be wrong, and this could have been third hand, or even further hand, but I feel like I read somewhere an article that said something to the effect of Caitlyn Jenner was, after all this change and things he went through, was very dissatisfied still with what he had done and who he was now. Am I accurate on that?
I have no idea. I don't follow Caitlyn Jenner.
Okay.
I had not heard that, but
I feel like I heard that.
I don't feel like that's an uncommon narrative.
No.
though.
I feel like that too. That's what I was just about to say. I feel like that is probably, if that's true, that's incredibly sad, but it is probably the most well-known transgender person that I know of. I can't think of anyone more popularized than that, but
The Rock. No, I'm just kidding. I can't do that. I'm sorry. I just did that for the reaction.
you stop it.
You shut your
just did it for
mouth.
Good grief. Anyway, what? I feel like I heard that not long ago that the statistic was like it was more than half of people that go through all of the like sex change stuff, all of that. More than half of them still felt dissatisfied with their identity, still felt confused, and felt regret from going through all of that process based on the outcome. And I can think of not much that is sadder than that.
Yeah.
Well, yet transsexual people have such a high rate of suicide compared to the rest of society, and I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
It does.
In conjunction, especially with what you're saying, is they go through all of this and they're still not satisfied.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a little bit of a finger point back at the world. It's like, well, they're not accepting who I am now or whatever, but I just don't think that that's the root of the issue.
No.
I mean, we know that the root of the issue is that like you're trying to replace a hole that exists with something that doesn't fit.
Yes.
Like it's not ever going to be enough.
Like
this issue.
I mean, this is writing its sermon by itself, without going like straight to the cliche.
Yeah.
But
I'll say, like, so for instance, I feel the same way about people that are just struggling with sexuality. Like, we've already had that talk a little bit in a previous podcast, but, there are tons of people that are like same-sex attraction or like they're confused. I think that's not even the same argument as like I'm confused about my gender. Mm-hmm. I think those are two separate things. I don't think the confusion about gender is necessarily about who you want to be with romantically.
Yeah, I agree.
And the problem is like, people are relying too heavily on emotional drive. Mm-hmm. So I feel this way, so I need to act this way or act on this because of the feelings that I have. Yeah. And those feelings can be driven by so many different things, so many outside sources of like, you've got this best friend, you're a guy and you've got a best friend who's a girl, so you feel very much like you could be a girl or whatever. So that starts this whole slope of like, all right, now I'm going down into like, you know what I mean? We don't have to get into the details of it, but like something like that is not that I want to be romantically involved with a guy, but I just feel this connection with a female. And so then there's like there's this whisper from the enemy that's like, don't you think God should have made you that? Mm-hmm. And then it's this, well, did God really say situation? Yeah. Did God really say that it was only like based on physical stuff? Yeah. Then, all right, so you've got that. All right, that's just dealing with male and female physical birth of who you are. That you feel, there's so many layers to this, Linda. Mm. You feel a certain way, and so you start acting out on that. But there are people that can be genuinely confused because of physical ailments at birth. Mm-hmm. All right? There's situations, but like, do you know, as a nurse, do you know any of the statistics on like how often that happens?
I don't.
It's very rare.
It is, and that's what in my 7.5 years.
Because I feel like that's what the community, the LGBTQ plus community, always throws out is like, well, what about like when you can sort of argue your way around all the emotional structures, then it's like, well, what about the people that are just born with some confusion going on?
Yeah, because there are people who are born and it's you check your male, female, ambiguous.
Yes.
And there are people born with both reproductive organs, but like I said, in 7.5 years, I think I saw it once out of like hundreds of babies that I delivered. And that's not to say that underlying, outside of just what we already knew from prenatal or whatever, but the statistics are, and someone can write in with the statistics, and I'll
What's
probably
the
look them up,
genetics on that? Like, so there's XX chromosome or XY chromosome, and there's XX chromosome.
Correct.
What happens is on a chromosomal level? Is it still either or?
So, like XX is female, XY is male,
Yes.
and sometimes babies are born with an XXY.
XXY.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever an XYY.
Okay.
Because no,
Superman.
that would make no sense. That would be
Super
Superman.
male.
Yeah. Why?
Why?
They would never get to participate in sports.
They
The
get to-
testosterone would be
Yeah.
so high.
Yeah, but like there's nothing to balance it out.
Yeah.
Who did you say?
It's the Rock.
That's the rock. That one's the rock.
That's the Rock.
Triple Y.
Yeah, triple Y. But yeah, and XXY. So
Okay.
I'm
So-
trying to figure out where.
Well,
What are you asking me?
Well, I'm trying to figure out like, okay, so at that point, what's the identifier then at the end of the day? Because you go to that far of a
Yeah.
confusion. I mean, I feel for someone who has to go through that in their life
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, there's going to be some confusion there.
And I think.
So what's a doctor's input on that situation?
I mean, I think it would come out to what genetic traits are presenting themselves.
'Cause
Like,
it's
are the
never-
male
all right,
traits,
so-
or is male presenting itself
I'm not
more
trying to
as
get
female?
I'm not trying to get graphic up in here, but like,
Yeah.
What it looks like,
well, I'm just saying.
Like-
All right, so
or like I think that's what they would look at the hormone levels.
you're
look
gonna
at what,
all right. So I'm fixing to go like one level below my education. Okay, so you're gonna just hear just real talk on the street, Joseph, for a second.
Uh-oh.
When you're looking at what you're looking at
Mm-hmm.
on a what was it, XXY?
Yeah.
All right. Is it just real jacked up? Is it a bad situation? Or is it like, oh, clearly this and clearly that?
Well, it's kind of like, well, I could see it as female. I could see it as male.
Oh, so it's pretty
Like-
jacked up.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, if you look at it this way, it looks this way, and if you look at it this way, it looks this way.
Okay, whoa,
And-
all right.
Well, yeah, like, and that's what it's like. It's ambiguous.
Okay. So it's not.
So those cases do exist.
They do exist.
They're not-
Yeah,
Get me out of this,
This
Caleb.
situation is not the most common.
correct.
So, okay, here I got a question for you because we're probably running up on like we're over an hour now.
Good grief,
this-
that was the past hour.
Yeah, I know, right? This is going.
It's
So-
part one.
yeah, we're gonna have to revisit. So, what would you leave people with here? Because this situation exists; it's in the world. People are having these discussions outside of like the three of us talking right now. When these conversations happen out in the world, what can we do to help people try and navigate this thing? Like, as they're having a conversation about Leah right now, because this is happening, and
Yeah.
like Rhett and Nate. Rate and Net are like they're having this conversation, I'm sure, already.
Yeah.
So from last week. So
I can tell you probably what Nate is saying right now.
it was,
I think we know what they're saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was going to be where we need to drive
So-
this around. What is our response?
yeah, because you've got Caroline and Nate.
Our
talking to
response
each
is
other
not
about
what
this.
has happened, okay, by like, and it seems like the super right wing is
Mm-hmm.
really attacking the NCAA and really
Yeah.
attacking Lia Thomas. The Lia Thomases of the world need to be loved, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's number one. There's
Yeah.
no reason to attack someone, all right? I don't think that it is Lia Thompson's responsibility to navigate all of the rulings that should create a structure to where she competes fairly and equally with whoever. That's not. She just needs to sign up and go swim. He or she. I'm not real sure where we're at on that right now. I'm guessing she is the pronoun that she probably wants to go by. The is she male, is she female thing, that's a different conversation. But for the fact of this particular one and any subsequent situations where it involves women or men encroaching on the other's area, whatever, if it's sports, if it's academia, wherever. I don't really know of an academic reason that this would be a problem, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If they don't see the Christian community reach out in, like, kind of what we're doing right now, like, I'm not trying to draw a hard line decision on what to do about ambiguous births, but I'm trying to understand it. Okay. As a Christian, I want to understand what's causing her gender confusion and anyone like her. Okay. Without saying, okay, you're completely wrong for what you're doing, that kind of thing. The NCAA holds the accountability with. At the end of the day, the NCAA allowed this to happen, and it really ruined this competition. Seems like it did. In a nutshell, though, we don't need to make judgments on what the NCAA is doing. All we can really do is act out in, like, if somebody is very confused about their gender identity or their sexuality or whatever, all we can really do is paint the picture of, like, listen, you're looking for your identity in the wrong place. It's about, okay, so you were created in the image of God. You're trying to create your own image here based on feelings, based on things that can change. And if you're basing your identity on things that can change, guess what? Tomorrow you might not feel like a girl anymore. You might feel like a guy again, or you might feel like whatever, a horse, a cat. Like apparently with Ned and Ray,
that happens.
Ned and Ray.
I said it
again. I said it again. That's so easy to say.
But it anyway, just flows off the tongue.
Like, you can't base your identity on a moving target. And God has set presently, like, a foundation for us to build on with who we are. Anyway, I know we're running out of time, but that's where we're at on it. Yeah. We've got to make sure that we are showing enough grace to say, listen, I understand you're working through some stuff. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. But I don't want to, like, condemn someone for trying to, compete in a world that they're not supposed to. Or, I don't know. That's not my place. Yeah. It's not my place.
Because I'm willing to bet that this might not have been Leah's idea.
Like, not all of it.
Not all of it.
I
don't think all of this. And and maybe it was, but I feel like there's almost a puppet show.
Oh, 100%.
There's an agenda to push, and somebody who's willing to put themselves out there like this. Yeah. And that kind of like the Russian figure skater.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that she made the decision to take these.
Oh yeah, there's coaches, there's people that are pouring into that life. That's
and those are the people that need our grace and that need to see the love and need to see the grace, and that's our job.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a lot more to unpack. This may just be really part one of this conversation, but
definitely it's not going to be over by next week. So I think it'll pop up eventually.
We'll see, and it won't be all about Lia Thomas, but there'll be something else. But it's just this is an ongoing conversation in our culture, so it's something that we have to talk about. Otherwise, the world is going to make all the decisions about it, and we're going to have no say. So anyway. Thank you for joining us on Figuring It Out. It got pretty real there at the end, but hey, stay tuned. We're going to continue to have good conversations, I think, about things that matter.
Because we're just figuring it out,
We are figuring it out, too. You heard it right here at the table. We're trying to figure out what to do with all this, and what to do with potatoes that are gourds. So, and all that, this is Joseph and Linda and Caleb signing off. Listen, like, and share the podcast, and we'll keep it going. Thank you, guys.